All right, this is the week 4 update and check-in for The Artist's Way. This week was a weird week. The concept of the week was about recovering a sense of integrity, and the main thing to do this week, other than doing the morning pages and doing the art estate, was going into a reading or a consumption deprivation. The chapter itself was pretty disjointed. It was kind of all over the shop. Usually I can take a bunch of notes and essentially summarize the essence of what she's trying to get across. But this week was not the case. Chapter 4 was very hard to kind of solidify what the main message was. So yeah, the reading deprivation it wasn't just about reading, it's about anything that you kind of consume just as a time filler or an entertainment filler, I guess. So social media, YouTube, podcasts, movies, books, all sorts of stuff. Cut all of that out for the week. I watched a couple of UFC conversations, I guess, about just the upcoming fight or something. That was probably the only really thing I intentionally watched, and that was out of pure boredom. So I did give in some sense, but yeah, I wasn't 100% strict with it, but I was pretty damn close. And I work for myself, so a lot of the days I'm just consuming things whilst working. Like I just have YouTube or a podcast running, so having a week with nothing other than your thoughts was a good challenge, and it was definitely very interesting. I did have a weird week, because I did injure my wrist and I couldn't work at full capacity, so it was kind of weird in terms of how I went about my week compared to a normal week. But yeah, the goal of the reading deprivation is just a bit of a detox and to kind of just sit with your own ideas as opposed to getting stimulated from external means. And the whole point is to get a bit bored and frustrated, and pushes you into more of a discomfort zone, I suppose. And ideally through that, then you start to create more things that are true to your nature or unique to you. And yeah, finding your authentic voice is one of the main reasons of kind of blocking out the other noise for the week. And yeah, there was parts in the chapter where she's talking about you will get irritable and sort of restless and stuff just because you don't have those entertainment crutches that you might be used to. And especially in the social media day and age, I mean, it's so much easier to get lost in that than read a book. When you read a book, obviously your attention span can wane, but with social media, the whole point of the algorithm is to keep you satiated and fed. So, I mean, that's probably a bigger reward in terms of having a break for the week than just reading, perhaps. But I mean, to do it truly is to cut out everything. So yeah, that's the point of the week. She kind of mentions, just like tapping in with yourself and understanding your own emotions and mood swings, and that you'll end up kind of diving into older versions of yourself and trying to fix them a little bit, I suppose. She talks about doing a wardrobe clear out as a way of, I guess, doing a purge or a cull of your older self. I mean, I do that all the time, so that wasn't really something I wanted to do because there's no clothes really left to clear out. So I actually went through and did more of a digital version, so going through heaps of Apple Notes. I've got notes in Evernote, in Bear. These are all note-taking apps that I've had over the years, and I've used them for different methods and strategies and added things to them and then abandoned them. And I just had to spend the week kind of consolidating that. So clearing heaps of old ideas out, just deleting them, taking the ones that I still resonate with and enjoy and excited by, and then reformatting them in a sense and giving them a new direction of where they can exist in the future, and just basically organizing all of the thoughts and the brainstorming and all the ideas that I've had over the past few years that have been scattered everywhere. So that was pretty much the main thing I did all week, other than just my normal day-to-day living and chores and work and everything. So they're the main things, the main points from chapter 4 that was really the essence of the week. It was just kind of blocking out the noise and tapping in with yourself. I didn't take a whole lot of notes. She just says here, we often blur our uniqueness with sugar, alcohol, drugs, overwork, bad relations, under-exercise, TV, and I just wrote a note, our uniqueness is overshadowed by all the different manifestations of resistance. So basically we just there's so many forms of resistance that can take our attention away, and that stifles how unique we are and the things that we create. And this is actually an interesting point about using vices to kind of hide away from things. Because last week I found on the Artist Way subreddit, people are using this therapy framework or tool called IFS, Internal Family Systems, in combination with the Morning Pages and Artist Way. And basically IFS is this idea that we're made up of different parts, and the parts that are kind of creating the blocks that we're working through in Artist Way, they come from a few different areas. So basically, if you simplify it to, there's yourself, which is your calm and collected and curious and compassionate version, like the best version of yourself. And then there's usually 3 other parts they kind of categorize that are creating the blockages that we want to overcome and all the hurdles in our lives. So one is a manager or a protector, and they're basically the ones trying to be a perfectionist, be people pleasers. They overthink, they try to protect yourself by like basically making it so things can't fuck up and they're airtight. So they're just trying to control the situation all the time. And the 3 parts I'm going to mention, they all have good intentions, like they mean well, but they actually start to backfire when they get more control and their voices override the calm version of yourself. If this sounds like a bit of a riddle, just go and Google it or something. So there's the protector, the manager, then there's like a reactor or a firefighter, who's someone kind of using vices, like I was mentioning here, to dull what's going on in their world. So they'll use drugs or TV or binge eat as a distraction mechanism. So that's the second one. And then the third one is like the hurt version of ourselves, the exiled version, the part that's shameful or guilty or like resentful and just wants to hide away. So when you think about it, there's a version of ourselves trying to protect ourselves. There's a version of ourselves just trying to like cover up the scars with like easy fixes and easy vices. And then there's a version that just kind of wants to run and hide. And people are using it with the Artist Way framework because it helps you understand where the blocks are. Because again, the Artist Way is about overcoming the blocks, but if you're not addressing what's creating blocks, then you're just gonna have more blocks to deal with. So it's interesting to kind of reverse engineer it and I guess zoom out a bit and view yourself as different parts. And I found this particularly useful when doing the morning pages. So my method is basically just do my morning pages, stream of consciousness as I normally do. And anytime you have like this voice that is showing doubt or wants to hide or wants to avoid accountability, that's basically one of the parts, one of your internal family systems, being like trying to take control or trying to hide away from what the reality is. So my idea is that once I can identify what part is trying to have their voice heard, the idea of internal family systems is to validate that voice, say, you know, it's okay to want to make this thing perfect. I understand why you're trying to do it, but we need to like not listen to that voice and kind of overcome it. This is a horrible explanation, but it's whatever, it's a video for me. So when I'm writing, I will basically, if something comes up that's not really part of me and it's just like this resistance voice, I'll basically stop what I'm doing and say, this is this version. The protector is trying to take control here. They're trying to make this thing perfect. It doesn't need to be perfect. So the idea is that you validate that thought, saying it's okay to have that, but it's not okay to like act on that, if that makes sense. It's a bit confusing, but it really makes sense when you're doing the journaling and you're just, for 30 minutes, just scribbling out your thoughts. You have doubts, you have these voices that creep in, and it's about identifying them in real time and essentially shutting them down. That's been a really useful tool and a really useful addition. I haven't seen a lot of it mentioned on the people talking about Artist Way and on videos or online or anything. I literally just seen it on a subreddit post and was like, that's interesting. That was, one of the biggest revelations and just an extra tool to add into the morning pages. And it's actually funny because me trying to find a tool is the protector manager version trying to implement a framework or a strategy to something that should be just a free flow. So even the act of adding in the IFS framework is the protector trying to take less accountability. Like it's a whole thing. Yeah, it's kind of therapy on yourself in a sense. Morning pages, pretty rock solid for the week. I think I missed the one day. I just didn't get to it. It's too late in the day, and just felt like at 3 o'clock it wasn't, so much had happened. There was so few hours left in the day that it really wasn't worth doing. And even right there, that's a version of myself trying to run away from the problem. You can see how like you have this rationale in your mind for like why you do things, and then there's a part of you that's enforcing that. It's a bit of a mind fuck, but it is what it is. For the artist date this week, I didn't go anywhere. I sat right here actually and edited the photos from last week. So if you haven't seen last week's one, you can go back and check it out. I went to the city for the day in Sydney and just did street photography for the day. And yeah, sent them off last week and got them developed and processed them all. So that was a fun exercise, getting into the habit of just learning to edit and color correct and things like that. And in terms of the tasks, there's actually some fun tasks this week, I'm not gonna lie. One interesting task was time travel to age 80. So it says, describe yourself at 80. What did you do after 50 that you enjoyed? Be very specific. So I basically wrote down how I envision myself at 80. And this is a fun exercise. I would recommend doing it for a bit of fun. Me at 80, I wrote, still waking up early. I'll have a new version of my morning routine, obviously depending on different needs and family circumstance and whatever virtual reality we might be living in. Yeah, new version of the morning routine, but still prioritizing getting up early, getting things done before the sun gets up, despite probably being retired and having the luxury of sleeping in. Not athletic, but fit and strong. You know, not amazing, but enough to get by and do normal things without being worried about injuring yourself. Regular calls with family members, kids and grandkids, mentoring and giving back, reading, learning and writing, always improving, never stagnating. I mean, that's very important to me. And I imagine at 80, it's going to be just as relevant, just as useful. Who knows? I don't really know any 80-year-olds to bounce these things off. Are we living on passive income by then? Be well-traveled, have spent real time in real places, not just passing through, and still enjoying and making art. So when I think about it, it's very close to what I'm currently doing now, which is wild to know that like things that far. Obviously living on passive income, traveling, like these things require work, but in terms of the other things, they're all very, very controllable. It's just about not giving up on life, essentially. And then things that I did after 50 that I enjoyed. So again, this is forecasting or foreshadowing. What I did after 50 that I enjoyed: lived and traveled in the US for 3 months, lived and traveled Europe for 3 months, wrote and published books, brought the dream PPOR, created 6-figure passive income, spent weekends with kids at sports and events, continued to create and consume art daily, stayed physically active and health conscious, didn't succumb to lifestyle creep, and have a happy and healthy marriage. And this is the really powerful part. So write a letter from your 80-year-old version to your present day version of yourself. And I'm trying to get emotional because this is like, it can be a powerful exercise if you're willing to like open up about it. And maybe I'm not even that open about it here, but I mean, this would be interesting to watch back at 50 or at 80. So it says, you're on the right track. You know deep down when you are and when you aren't on the right track. So listen to that intuition more. It guides you more than you know. I can tell you that you have spent and are going to spend a lot of time second guessing yourself, and you won't get to where I am today if you keep allowing that to creep into your bigger goals and aspirations. I know you can feel overwhelmed with all the sparks of opportunity and you see in the world and how you fit within them, But I'm telling you, there is time, so much that I even have 30 projects that I would be passionate to do, and my hands are still full at 80. So stop thinking of it in terms of how little time you have left, and start treating this energy and curiosity as a blessing. These are the things you should start pursuing now, because I believe they will have the biggest impact. After 50 years of building yourself, your brand, your knowledge, your integrity has served me well, and I'm reaping the benefits of it every day. So don't stop working on that and sharing your values and your insights. Keep your body strong and maintain a sustainable schedule of exercise, diet, and sleep. All the work in the world, whether professionally or creatively, will not fix that problem for you. Stand firm in your beliefs, your passions, and convictions, but never be afraid to admit you were wrong, and always seek to find the truth. Stay sharp, keep learning, keep reading, keep playing, keep questioning. Keep writing. You enjoy it in so many formats, so make sure it takes a priority in how you learn, communicate, and relax. Keep digging into your psyche and philosophies. Stay on top of your journaling and self-reflection, and find more peace and calm through how you think about and operate in the world. And then the last point is keep the money moving to all the places with the best leverage: healthy foods, automations, investments, creative endeavors, and adventure. So that was the best task I've done so far, because it puts shit into context. It's just I've seen so many of those like TikTok videos where it's men on the street interviews, and they interview an older couple in their 70s or 80s, and it's always the same advice. It's just like, lighten it up, enjoy your time, don't waste your money. It's just all the shit I outlined. But we get so caught up in how fast the world's moving that we don't realize we're still humans and need to slow down to a human level at times. So that was the time travel task. Didn't cry. Throat was a bit tight, but it is what it is. Reading deprivation. And the only other real one that's kind of worth mentioning is just describe your ideal environment. And it just says, describe your ideal environment: town, country, swank, cozy. One paragraph, one image, drawn or clipped. And I just wrote my ideal environment would be a studio / library / office overlooking my backyard and property with mountains in the background. A couple of hours away from the main city, but it has everything I need there. Lots of nature, wood furniture and industrial elements and arts and plants, and lots of natural light. So basically just being in the dream home, surrounded by the things I enjoy, art and reading and just nature, and yeah, that's the ideal environment. So yeah, I'll see you guys next week, week 5.